What if I told you that a simple act of love could turn your entire family into superheroes? Not the kind you see in comic books, but real people with real powers and absolutely no idea how to use them. Today, I am going to share with you one of the most incredible and hilariously chaotic stories you will ever hear. A story about a man who traveled between worlds, returned home with mystical powers, and accidentally created the most unpredictable super family ever. Trust me, you won't believe what happens next. So sit back, relax, and let me take you on this wild journey. Imagine waking up one day and finding yourself in a completely different world, not just a different country or a different time, but an entirely different realm of existence. That's exactly what happened to our protagonist, a regular man living an ordinary life until 9 massive dragons appeared from nowhere, pulling an ancient coffin through the sky and dragged him away from everything he knew. These weren't just any dragons. They were mystical creatures from legends, and the coffin they carried held secrets beyond human comprehension. Our hero found himself transported to a world where the impossible became possible, where cultivation and martial arts weren't just stories but the very foundation of existence. In this strange new realm, he had no choice but to adapt, to learn, to survive. Days turned into months, and months turned into years. He trained relentlessly, pushing his body and mind beyond their limits. The cultivation techniques he learned were nothing like anything from his world. He absorbed spiritual energy, refined his inner power, and slowly transformed from a helpless outsider into someone formidable. Every breakthrough came with pain, every advancement required sacrifice, but he persevered because deep in his heart he held on to one hope, the hope of returning home. And finally, after what felt like an eternity of struggle and growth, he found a way back. The portal opened, the familiar energy of his own world beckoned, and he stepped through, expecting a warm reunion, expecting joy and relief, but what he found instead shattered his heart into a million pieces. His wife, the woman he loved more than life itself, was lying weak and injured. His daughter, his precious little girl, was in the same condition. They had been hurt, neglected, abandoned by those who should have protected them. Nobody had cared for them in his absence. The world had been cruel to the two people he treasured most. Rage and despair filled his chest, but there was no time for those emotions now. He had to act, drawing upon the knowledge he'd gained in that other world. He remembered the rare medicinal pills he had acquired during his cultivation journey. These weren't ordinary medicines. They were treasures crafted from spiritual herbs, condensed with pure energy, capable of healing injuries that modern medicine couldn't even understand. Without hesitation, he gave these precious pills to his wife and daughter, hoping desperately that they would work in this world as they did in the realm of cultivation. The pills dissolved in their bodies, and the energy began to flow through their veins. He watched anxiously, praying for their recovery. Their wounds started healing at a visible rate, color returning to their pale faces, strength flowing back into their weakened bodies. Relief washed over him as he saw them improving. But then something unexpected happened, something he hadn't anticipated at all. The spiritual energy from those pills didn't just heal them, it transformed them. The residual power, far too potent for ordinary human bodies, began altering their very essence. His wife suddenly discovered she could hear conversations from blocks away. His daughter found that she could move objects without touching them. The medicinal energy had awakened superpowers within them, turning his ordinary family into something extraordinary. At first, it seemed like a blessing. His wife could sense danger before it arrived. His daughter could protect herself in ways he'd never imagined. But here's the thing about sudden power. especially when you haven't trained for it, when you don't understand how to control it. It creates chaos, beautiful, hilarious, absolute chaos. His wife tried to have a normal conversation but kept accidentally reading everyone's thoughts, leading to incredibly awkward situations. Imagine trying to talk to your neighbors while simultaneously hearing every unfiltered thought running through their heads. The embarrassment was endless. She'd respond to things people only thought but didn't say, creating confusion and suspicion everywhere she went. His daughter wasn't much better, excited about her telekinetic abilities. She'd try to grab the TV remote from across the room, but instead of just the remote, the entire entertainment center would come flying toward her. Dinner time became an adventure because every time she reached for the salt, plates would start levitating, food would hover midair, and chaos would erupt around the dining table. And our hero, the powerful cultivator who had survived in another world, who had faced mystical beasts and overcome impossible trials, found himself completely helpless in dealing with his superpowered family's daily disasters. All his cultivation skills, all his combat experience, meant nothing when his daughter accidentally launched the refrigerator through the kitchen wall because she was upset about her homework. The neighbors started noticing strange things, objects floating past windows, strange sounds at odd hours, conversations that seemed to predict things before they happened. Our protagonist had to work overtime creating excuses, covering up incidents, and trying desperately to teach his family control while maintaining their normal appearance to the outside world. His wife's super hearing meant privacy became a luxury they could no longer afford. She could hear arguments 3 houses down, gossip from the supermarket while sitting at home, and most annoyingly, her husband's stomach growling from another floor, which she'd interpret as him being hungry and insist on cooking elaborate meals at random hours. But the most challenging part was keeping his daughter's powers secret at school. Kids her age don't exactly have the best impulse control under normal circumstances. Add telekinetic powers to the mix, and you've got a recipe for disaster. When a bully tried to take her lunch money, the bully's backpack mysteriously flew off and landed in the school fountain. When she got a bad grade on a test, the teacher's coffee mug developed a mind of its own and spilled all over the papers. Through all this madness, our hero tried various methods to help them control their newfound abilities. He taught them meditation techniques from the cultivation world, breathing exercises to center their energy, visualization methods to focus their power. But translating mystical cultivation practices into something that worked for accidental superpowers proved more challenging than fighting interdimensional monsters. There were touching moments too, amidst all the comedy. His wife used her enhanced hearing to detect a gas leak in an elderly neighbor's home, potentially saving lives. His daughter helped a lost child find their parents by sensing their emotional connection. The powers that caused so much chaos also brought unexpected opportunities for good. Yet the learning curve remained steep and hilarious. Family movie night became impossible because his wife would hear spoilers from people watching the same movie in other houses. Shopping trips turned into adventures when his daughter's excitement over a toy would cause an entire shelf to shake. Even simple activities like walking the dog became complicated when the dog's thoughts apparently weren't pleasant. According to his wife's telepathic eavesdropping, our protagonist realized that bringing his family into the world of supernatural abilities, even accidentally, came with responsibilities he hadn't prepared for. He wasn't just protecting them from physical harm anymore, he was protecting their secret, managing their chaos, and trying to ensure they didn't accidentally reveal themselves to a world that wouldn't understand. As days passed, they slowly adapted to their new reality. The accidents became less frequent, The control gradually improved, and the family learned to live with their extraordinary circumstances while appearing completely ordinary to everyone else. They became a true super family, not because they sought power, but because love and circumstance combined to create something unique. And through all the mayhem, all the laughter, all the near disasters and surprising saves, one thing remained constant. They were together, they were stronger than before, and their bond as a family had been forged through experiences that no ordinary family could ever imagine. The man who traveled between worlds had finally found that his greatest adventure wasn't in some mystical realm, but right here at home, with his super wife and super daughter, navigating the wonderfully chaotic life they now shared. So there you have it, a story that reminds us that sometimes the greatest powers aren't the ones we seek, but the ones that find us when we least expect them. Family isn't about being perfect, it's about being together through the chaos, the laughter, and everything in between. If you enjoyed this wild journey, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more incredible stories. And hey, let me know in the comments, what superpower would you accidentally give to your family? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep believing in the extraordinary, because sometimes it's hiding right in your own home.